Well, hey there, guys, and welcome back to Will's Workshop. As always, we're out here on my back porch, but I've got some exciting news. Between last episode and this episode, I managed to finish up the chiseling, sanded out both sides of the core, and did an initial test fitting. And for the first time ever since my starting to do this as a craft, it actually went really well. So I'll just show you here real quick. Basically what I've done, I've only got the 4 clamps, but I've got them clamped and spaced as evenly along this guy as I could get it. So if I hold this up, you can see got a nice core going on there. And what you'll do at this stage is just take the sword and slide it down and sheath it. You want some grip. Over time, as people sheathe the sword, unsheathe the sword, it will eventually get looser, so ideally you want it kind of tight when you first carve this out. You don't want it so tight that you're fighting with yourself to get the sword back out, but you want it tight enough, and this is dangerous, you want it tight enough that when the scabbard is upside down like this, the sword doesn't fall out, right? It's just got a nice, snug fit. And there we go. So, here's the deal. Oh, I'm actually going to need this. I just have the 4 clamps, and ideally, or at least one way to do this would be to get just a dozen of these guys and line them all the way up and down the board. But I don't have that. I have 4. What I do have, however, is a set of hardware here that's going to help me out immensely. Just see if I can show you this on the camera there. I got some wing nuts, some washers, and some little, just about 3/16 inch by 1 inch bolts. And what I'm going to do is I am going to first trace the outline of the sword on the outside of the scabbard so I have an idea where my core is, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to pop holes all along the edges of the scabbard so that I can drop those bolts down those holes and tighten up the edges so they are perfectly tight and smashed together. Not going to glue it just yet. I just want to get it to where I know, okay, when these 2 boards are completely flush, that the sword's going to fit, and it's going to fit well. So that's what I'm doing right now. Got my pencil over here, and we're just going to take the sword, and these clamps should be spaced enough to where I can get the sword right there on the scabbard. And I can do like I did at the very, very beginning of all of this. Line that up with the hole. Like so. And just draw a nice outline on the outside of my board. These are just guidelines so that I know where the core is on the inside, because I do not want to drill into that core. That was a lot of work. So we got it on that side. Now we just need to take that, flip it over, and actually at this point, because I've still got my rivet in over here, I can be fairly certain that it's not going to move over here. So we can flip her over, lay the sword back on here, and trace on this side as well. So, there we go. Beautiful. Now I can put this guy back away. So yeah, that's really light. Probably not going to show up on camera, but you get the idea. I've just drawn the outline of the sword on the outside so that I know where this core is, so I am in no danger when I'm drilling holes in this of popping into the inside of the core. The idea here is I want to put these holes as close to the edge as possible, again, so I don't mess up my previous work. So I'm going to get the drill and we're going to get to working, and I will be back in a flash. Alright guys, so here we are down at the far end of the table, and here we are with the drill. Another scary part of the process, but needs to be done. So I've gone through, and again, I mean, it's just gray pencil. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, but I've made marks down the whole board there, kind of evenly spacing out where the holes are going to be. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to pop these two end holes, one on each side, so that I can go ahead and drop my bolts in and take these clamps off. That'll make it easier when I go to put the rest of the holes in the board, because otherwise you put this on the table and it's off the table. So, enough talking. Time to get to work. Oh, right. Actual safety glasses this time. Now again, we want to put these holes as close to the edge as we can without breaking through the edge of the board. So take your time. There's one. Check the edge alignment here. And there's two. So, I'm still here, I'm not gone. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a bolt, slide a washer on there, drop that one down that hole, drop this one down here. And then we've got these handy wing nuts, and they'll just screw onto the back. Like so. Nice and tight. Like that. Easy as pie, right? So now we can take these guys off of here. And I have 13 bolts in total. So it's going to be 6 on each side. Plus I'm going to put one right here. This rivet has done a great job of keeping me on line, but I need another bolt here at the tip to make sure that this part of the board here is sealed nice and tight when I glue it. It would be no good to have the tip of my scabbard spread out at the end. So by placing a bolt, this is roughly, I want to say, 1.5 inches below where the tip of the sword is going to be. By placing a bolt there, that ensures I can tighten this section up too, so that the whole thing is nice and pressed together when I go to glue it. So we just flip this guy around. Pop a hole in here. Yeah, and I just realized I didn't have my glasses on that time. Don't do what I say, not what I do. So we've got another bolt, another wing nut. We're going to tighten that up. So it's being a little problematic. I'm going to have to grab a screwdriver, but you get the idea. I'm going to tighten this up, and then I'm going to pop all the rest of the holes in there, put all the rest of the bolts in, and then we'll have another test fitting with the sword, because with just those 4 clamps, there's a pretty good chance that the 2 boards did one of these numbers somewhere along the line, and maybe the sword's not going to fit as well as I thought it did. But let me get that done, and as always, back in a flash. Alright guys, moment of truth time. So I've gone, and as you can see, there's a bolt pretty much evenly spaced all the way down this board, with one in the center, again, to make sure that the tip is nice and sealed. If you look along the edges here, you can see that the boards are nice and flush against one another. This should be the test fitting. If this goes well, I don't know what I'm gonna do. It'll be a first for me. It'll be a first for me. I've made probably 8 or 9 scabbards at this point in time. So not, 100, but a few. One thing I will mention, that all this hardware that I'm using, all these bolts and wing nuts and washers, all of this for the price of like one of these, half of one of these. Like this thing's like $10, all this hardware. I'd be stretching it if I said it was $5, so that's another good reason to use the bolts. And yes, I know earlier I touched the blade with my naked finger, so yeah, I'm gonna be oiling this down after I finish out here. But anyway, moment of truth time, guys. And yeah, I'm scared. I'm just a bit nervous here. So far so good. Little bit of resistance. But you know what, actually? Oh, actually, that's not bad. Oh, that's excellent. I am very, very surprised, but happy about it. Serendipitous. That's what this is. Oh, that is a good fit. That is such a good fit. Well, all right. From this point on, it's time to start gluing. I think I'll save that for the next episode, though, or maybe I'll just glue it between. That's not super exciting. Yeah, I'll just glue it between episodes. That way, next episode we can get into some more fun stuff. Cutting the actual shape and then sanding down the core to the shape that we want. That'll be a more interesting episode. So basically what's going to happen is, obviously, I'm going to take this apart, and then I'm going to take some Elmer's wood glue, and I'm going to drop a line all the way around the circumference of the sword on both boards. And then you just smooth that out with your fingers so you have even coverage. You don't want too much, because you don't want glue seeping into the inside of your board, so when you're spreading it, make sure you spread outward. You don't want too little, because then the boards won't fuse. So it's a little bit painstaking, and you're going to get glue all over your hands, but if you do this bolt method here, it should make your life a lot easier. See, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the wing nuts off, separate the boards. I'm going to leave the bolts in the bottom board and do the glue around them, and then lay the top board straight down over the bolts, tighten it all back up, let it cure. It has to cure for roughly 24 hours, so leave it sit for a while before you do anything with it. And then it's just knocking the bolts out and getting to cutting. So I'm super excited. This worked out extraordinarily well. So naturally something's going to get messed up in the next episode. You just wait. But for now, guys, I'm just really happy. I've been Will. This has been Will's Workshop. You be excellent to each other, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye, guys. Bye.